Now, back to The Psychology of Spirit.
Victim mentality is something that plagues our society, and this is run by our egos. What is victim mentality? Victim mentality is when we feel everything is being done to us, when we feel we don't have enough, when we feel that the world is falling apart around us, and it's our fault. No. We feel it's being done to us. We are the victims. We are the victims of circumstance. You know, and in some situations, the term victims does apply. But then we come up with the term survivor. So I'm a victim of abuse, and then I am a survivor of abuse. Ego uses all of these things to try and define who we are. But not once does it tell us to take responsibility for what's occurring in our life. No, we can't stop rape. And no, when we're in the middle of abuse, we can't stop it either. But after everything's said and done, we can choose to make it a part of our past, or we can choose, as ego would prefer, to use it to define ourselves. Experiences in our lives create who we are. And no, life is not easy, but we are not victims of our lives. A lot of us walk past a person on the street and suddenly we feel pity. Can't you give that person credit instead of pitying them? Why would we want to be pitied? Do you want to be pitied? I don't want to be pitied. I don't think any of us want pity. And pity doesn't bring strength. And then pity brings obligation, also ego. So we walk past them, we feel sorry for them, and out of obligation, we give them something. With a simple change of thought, it can become an empowering thing with the same external actions. If you look at someone and you know, beyond a reasonable doubt, they are capable because you are capable, and you know that you have that to give to them, whether it's money, a sleeping bag, a jacket, or a smile, you've empowered them. Why? Because it's done without ego. It's done simply because you believe in yourself. People say, well, that's egotistical that you think of yourself. Remember what egotistical means. Egotistical means that you think the world evolves around you. When you are self-supportive and self-loving, that's not ego. That's the other part of you. That's the part you need to develop. We all have to develop. We know it. We have it. It's just that we often forget to add it in. It's so much easier to complain. As soon as you believe you're capable, as soon as you know you're capable, and as soon as you believe you have everything you've ever wanted in your life, it flows out. It flows over. Remember, ego needs to find fault, always. Ego needs to create the victim mentality. And worst of all, ego always needs to make someone wrong. So when we're walking down the street and we see somebody and our heartstrings are pulled, make sure, first of all, you realize the universe only creates perfection. If you know you're supposed to give them something, then give it. Anything done out of obligation creates resentment. All of those are ego-based emotions. Look at our relationships these days. When we fight to be right, what does it do? Look at our society right now. All these right fighters out there. No, I'm right. No, I'm right. You know, what about let's agree to disagree? How about I agree you're right for you and know that I'm allowed to have my own belief system? It's absolutely baffling how such a brilliant society can just throw down and fight like they're in a sandbox or on a school ground and not notice it. I know all of you notice it like I do as soon as I start sounding like a little kid. And I also know how hard it can be to stop sometimes right in the middle of that. But you're allowed to stop mid-sentence, you know. You're allowed to say, you know what, I didn't mean to say that. I'm sorry. My ego got the best of me, and I just need to walk away for a second. But there's a lot of subconscious stuff going on, too. Our ego has a very firm hold on our belief systems. Ego will tell you that you're going to be abandoned. Do you know what a scary thought that is for a lot of us? And you know what? The majority of people I've met and I've read have that fear of being left or fear of being alone. Our ego threatens with that regularly. You're going to end up alone, you know. That's why so many of us choose to stay in abusive relationships or relationships that we know aren't working. And what's even scarier is that's also why a lot of us don't put 2 feet into a relationship. Because we're scared if we feel everything we can feel and love to the best of our ability, that person will turn around and leave. The ego has made this place a very scary place to live. Very rarely do you hear your ego say, it's okay. Because your ego won't. You need to say it to you. You have a whole universe surrounding you that says it's going to be okay, and we are all knowing this. The subconscious things I talk about that are run by ego is ego tends to test people to see if what they think might happen will happen. See, there's a lot of things we think about ourselves that we don't tell other people. And these thoughts are pretty horrible. These thoughts are extremely brutal. And we tell ourselves that's who we are. Then we test the relationships or the friends that we have, the people around us, to see if they're going to treat us like we think they're going to. We become self-fulfilling prophecies, and the problem is most of us are doing this automatically, subconsciously, not even aware that we've got ourselves caught in this. And it's very important to notice. Some people believe that women and men don't attract controlling, abusive partners. But the whole thing is that if that's what we believe we deserve, that's what we will gravitate towards. And it's up to us to say to ourselves, I would choose something different. I'm going to choose a different behavior for a different outcome. I'm going to choose to think enough of myself not to allow anyone to speak to me like that. But remember, the problem is our ego is usually talking to us like that. And that's why there needs to be balance. When your ego spits out you're stupid and fat, you need to balance it with, and I love you exactly the way you are. It's not to change the mind of the ego because, like fighting with another person who has a different belief system, you will never change the ego's mind, ever. The ego believes it's right. And remember, it's like yin-yang. It's like a battery. Positive and negative working together. It's not to get rid of the other one. It's to create a balance. So you don't want to sit there and argue with the ego because then you both sound like 12-year-olds and now ego again has full control. I know it sounds complicating, but if you break it down, it's actually quite simple. Ego bites at you, you pat yourself on the back. Ego tells you somebody's going to leave you, you tell yourself you're going to be okay. Ego tells you you're going to end up alone, you tell yourself you love your life. Ego tells you you're not making enough money, you tell yourself you have enough and thank you to the universe. Ego tells you you don't know what you're doing. You tell yourself, I'm exactly where I need to be. It's all about balance. When we learn to have a constant dialogue of balance, what it brings in is it brings a calm to our minds. Yes, there are days when ego will flare up and take over and go out of control. That happens to all of us. And that's when you'll have to sit down and journal, and that's going to be a bad day. And when those days hit, you have to remember that it's okay to have them. I'm having a bad day. As soon as you accept that ego is all over you that day, it right away takes away the extreme of the behavior. A lot of us try and cap it off, try and stop it. Ego will just push and push and push and push, and then we explode. When we are working within victim mentality, we create a lot of resentment. When we are self-perpetuating things that we believe are going to be done to us, we create a lot of resentment. And the thing is that we have to be aware that these constant emotions that are flowing through us, we need to feel each one as it comes up. We need to allow ourselves to feel it. And it doesn't mean to express it. Ego can and will use our emotions against us to try and get us into a state of tizzy. That's the ego's job. Remember, it was used to create an individuality, to get us away from everybody. But when we want to end up working with everybody, we have to bring it to balance. Ego does not trust anyone. And it especially doesn't trust once we get older and we have proof in our lives that these things have actually occurred. A lot of us will say, well, I trust you right away. But deep down, we don't trust everybody with everything. And a lot of times we trust people knowing darn well we shouldn't because we've overrode our own gut instinct out of guilt. We're brilliant, and we don't give ourselves enough credit for that on a regular basis. To actually trust someone means to trust yourself first, to trust your own judgment first. And that takes practice. You have to prove to yourself that all decisions you've made were the best that you could make at that time. That quiets ego. That balances ego. You have to prove to yourself that nothing you did was a mistake. Everything that you did was what you could do at that time. And remember, it's not going back and fixing because we can't. It's a state of acceptance and a state of talking to yourself, a state of saying, I'm choosing another behavior for a different outcome. So what would that look like? And sometimes that can be hard. It's a lot of pondering. We'll talk about that in a moment.